same, but it really is different. It's not like, I guess I'm lucky because I'm one of those people I just don't hang on to it. And it's been a couple of years since I've sung this opera. So it's gone, basically, out of my head. I'm like, the next role comes in and the last one goes out, and you know, so I have to kind of redo it. So I don't find that to be a huge challenge if the people in the artistic and production part are not combative. And they've been great so far. I'm like, oh, I really like to kind of do it like this. And actually, Joey Roshino, our conductor, has his specific ways of doing things. And he'll say, can I ask you a favor? Can I ask you a favor? That's like we started this whole thing, you know? Like, he said, you want me to take it slower? Yes. Okay, what's yours? Okay. And so we're like doing a tit for tat thing. So it's okay. You know, it's okay, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I think it's a battle. But again, I'm sure we're the same in this way. The director says, oh, no, and I really thought you should walk forward there. And you're like, but no, I thought I should sit there. And then you start this thing.
I try not to be Maria Callas when I get those notes.
You know, I must ask you, we have to talk about your preparation because I didn't know, and I might be jumping out of train, I didn't know this play. I mean, I knew of the play, Masterclass, and of course I respected Terrence McNally, but I had never read or seen the play. So before I came here, when all this came up, I thought, oh, I need to get to the library and have a gander at this play. So I did that. I read the play, and while I was there, I picked up a couple of books. I read about every single biography I could find of Callas years ago when I first started. But I thought, oh, I should refresh my memory about some of these things. And I picked up this book. I'm curious if you know it, or if you all know it, because I'd like to recommend it, by John Ardoin, her good friend, called Callas at Juilliard. And it's sort of a transcript of the actual Juilliard masterclasses that a lot of the Juilliard masterclasses that she gave. And I'm very interested in everybody kind of having a gander at the prologue because, you know, this play is critically a little bit questionable for the serious music critics. Publicly, it's incredibly, and I see why, incredibly successful, and it's very interesting. And I really was interested when I read the play. And McNally makes a lot of leaps with regard to what he thinks she's thinking, and all these things. But it's interesting to read the prologue of John Ardoin's book because it's her actual transcript of how she started the Juilliard masterclasses. So it's like a, I don't know, a yin and yang of the two things. And I found that very interesting. So you know what I'm talking about. It's very interesting, right? What she says at the beginning?
Well, very much so. And, I think we have to keep in mind that McNally, fortunately, he was a huge fan of hers. So there are sometimes people give a criticism of, you're making her so mean. Why are you doing that? And I think we have to acknowledge the fact that he's a playwright. And so he's going to take choices and decisions of parts of her life and elements that will also be theatrically interesting and fun. Because there's a poignancy about it. You finally get into, and his method of getting into her head is that she has these interior monologues while her recordings are being played in the background. And that's his method then, where you see, we have the Maria Callas, the public figure, and then the private figure.
Right.
And
at first, I have to tell you, I was a bit put off. At first, I was like, okay, wait a minute, she's not here to defend herself, what are you doing? And then I thought about it again, and I looked at it again, and I thought, I see, and tell me what you think of this theory, but I see, there are a lot of people out there, a lot of her fans, I think, felt that she was incredibly victimized, in the end of her life, and in her relationship with Aristotle and Nessus, and the way she was sort of shunted aside at the end of her career. And I sort of saw some of his playwriting as his homage to having her speak up the way those guys all would have liked to have had her speak up, or been able to speak up about some of these things. So then I was able to view that a little more positively. Because I was like, no, but you know what I mean?
But what I have to say, when I approach a role, and whether it's Lady M, or whether it's Maria Callas, or whoever it is, I have to justify everything that I do. And I can't be critical of what the playwright has indicated, or that if, I can't be critical of Lady M manipulating her husband. I have to have a reason for it. I have to have a motivation for this needs to be done, this needs to be done. I have to do this.
I couldn't agree more.
And so that's part of what I you know, we can analyze the play of what McNally was about and what it does for the public and what it does for music critics. But then when you take on the role, it's your job to say, no, I have to find the reason that she decides to do a master class. Why would Maria Callas decide to do a master class? So through my research, I had to go through all that, found several reasons why, both the public reason and then the internal reason, and everything else from it. So I don't know that I want to be too analytical about that right now in my process.
And you know what, I completely agree with you, because when people say to me, oh my gosh, she's so horrible, I'm like, no, she's so not. She's not. Seriously, I believe that. I believe that, because if you go and you say, oh, this evil character, then she becomes a caricature and it's just not interesting. The truth of the matter is, she's an ambitious person, not just an ambitious woman, she's an ambitious person. And somehow the term ambitious has become negative in our culture. And I'm sorry, but if we even knew half of what politicians or athletes or movie stars do in the name of ambition, we don't even know. I mean, I'm not saying they go off and kill kings, but you know, they don't do great things. Some of that gets unearthed and we go, wow. And you know, it's not a question to me of anything except that she is unaware of the fact that she has a conscience. She doesn't realize she actually has a conscience. She's so consciously motivated with her goal that she doesn't even realize that she has a conscience and a subconscious. So all that comes back to bite her in the, you know what, a little later in the opera and the play. But she's not, I don't think of her as that person. So I totally understand what you're saying about that. You have to deal with the material you're given. I mean, after you do all this research, then you know there are lots of parts of the play that can't be in the opera because of just of simple time constraints. So then you have to say, okay, I have it in my head, but it's no longer. I totally understand what you mean. So what other steps? Did you read biographies?
I have all of her master class on CD, so I'm listening to those.
Yeah, some of them are on YouTube. I've been looking at some.
Yeah, and they are on.
When you do this, do you think about imitating her voice and her?
You know, I listened to her voice. I thought what's interesting about Callas is that, you know, she started as such an awkward, fat, ugly, insecure person, and then turned into a swan. And in the course of that, you see that happened to her, not just physically, but in every way. She was awkward as she moved. She felt very uncomfortable and everything. And suddenly, so she was a great observer. She was watching people and she observed them and took on the aura of other people. And then when she became thin, she had that all in her grasp. And when you listen to her voice, her voice, she's very nice in the masterclass things on the CD. She's very nice. She doesn't get cross like the play. But then I have other tapes where I think I have quite a bit of Maria Callas. But on the tapes that I have of her, when you see reporters harassing her, she gets a very high, strident voice. And so you have these wonderful qualities of her that, and even the pronunciation, you will hear her using, as Paul will tell you, the English O. He's reminding me I'm using the English O. I'm saying, but Maria Callas does that, and she says compose. And so, in her own speech, you know, she's got very lyrical sounds as she's talking when she knows she's on stage and saying the appropriate thing. And then when people get at her, she gets a very high, wrestling sound. And it's just amazing. And she goes from low tones to very high tones. So I couldn't possibly imitate her voice, but the qualities of her, I am trying to implement that.
Because he writes some of them in the play.
Absolutely.
And
there are direct quotes from the
masterclass
in the play.
The reason I ask is because when I picked up this book from the library and I pulled this thing, we were in the car going to the city. I live in Connecticut and we were going into New York and my husband was driving, and so I said, you know, I love this prologue because I give master classes occasionally, and so many things in this were things I say to these kids, and it's really, I'm telling you, it's getting diluted now, it's becoming a lost art. It's just the last